comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So over the last few days, I've been listening to a lot of interviews with Robert Kennedy Jr., Bobby Kennedy's son, and I didn't even know he existed until COVID, and he came out against the vaccines and shit like that. So I haven't really listened to anything of his before, but I'm telling you right now, he's going to make a run for the president of the USA. A strong fucking run. I was listening to something today. It was some interview he did on Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk and Tulsi Gabbard and Kelly Slater for some reason. Balaji, like a bunch of famous cunts. And someone asked him about his stance on guns, and he said, and it was a pretty good answer, he's like, I'm 100% a constitutionist. We've worked out the Second Amendment. I'm not going to be trying to take anyone's guns off them. I don't think that's the right thing to do. What I will be doing, though, is I'll be looking into like mental health and SSRIs and the link between them and these mass shootings. And then he goes, and this is what fucking sealed the deal for me. I'm like, fucking RFK Jr., he's going to be trouble. He's going to be hard for that fucking... I don't even know what Biden is anymore. That husk, and even Trump. Trump is changing his position now. But anyway, this was the kicker that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said when he was talking about the gun laws. He's like, I've lost 2 family members to gun violence, so I know the effects of gun violence, but I don't think taking people's guns off them is the right thing to do. And those 2 family members just happen to be his uncle, John F. Kennedy, and his dad, Robert Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy. So he lost his uncle and his dad to gun violence. And we all know what kind of gun violence that was. That was state-initiated CIA, perhaps mob gun violence. But what an answer. What are you going to say to that? He's covered all bases. The left can't say to him, you don't know anything about the effects of gun violence. He's like, I lost my dad and my fucking uncle. And then the right, even the Trump supporters are like, well, he's not going to take our guns. What else has he got to say? He's going to be a big player over the next fucking 12 months. He's the first American politician I've heard make any sense in almost a decade. Since Obama was lying to everyone. He's anti-war, he's pro-gun, he's fucking anti-vax, but he's pro-environment. He's like the number 1 lawyer, environmentalist lawyer in the world for the last 30 years or some shit like that. So he is covering some fucking bases. His voice is kind of annoying and croaky. I don't know what the fuck that is, but at least the things coming out of his mouth aren't completely fucking insane. He's also pro-Bitcoin as well. And he said he's just going to do the podcast circuit. He's just like, Trump won the election through Twitter in 2016 or whenever the fuck it was. Obama won it through social media in 2008. He's like, this cycle, he's going to try and win the election through podcasts, just going on all the biggest podcasts in the world. The mainstream media are completely ignoring him, but the mainstream media are virtually redundant, inconsequential now. There's 2 things that I see stopping Robert Kennedy Jr. Was I calling him RFK Jr. before? I can't remember. Anyway. The first one is people just doubling down on Biden like they haven't made one of the biggest mistakes in history. But the way Biden's going, they're going to have to fucking wheel him out on a gurney and not let him talk ever again. 6 months, he's gone, Biden. He'll have completely lost it. But surely now, even the people who voted for Biden are like, this is pure fucking insanity. So that's one of the challenges he might have. And the other one is copping a stray bullet like all the other Kennedys have. You know what I mean? He's talking some bold stuff, and there were two other Kennedys who were talking some bold shit, and they both got shot. Ted Kennedy didn't though, but he also, I think, didn't he kill a hooker or something? So they weren't too worried about Ted. JFK Jr., he died in a plane crash, so there's a lot of fucking shit going around there. I'd be slightly concerned, but he doesn't seem to be concerned. If I was in the US, he'd be my guy. Listen to him, check him out. Anyway, I was going to talk about Djokovic for a bit, becoming the greatest tennis player of all time, but haven't got time. Let's move straight along to this week's Ask Boyle. It's Ask Boyle time. So if you have a question that you would like answered by one of the greatest minds of the generation or any generation, comedian, philosopher, crane operator, Le Boyle, then head to my website, boylecomedy.com. There's a section there for Ask Boyle. You know the drill. Fucking just put your question in or go to Drunk Dial, ask the question. While you're there, there's a button for the Patreon. Sign up for the Patreon, extra video podcasts a week. And then we're getting the DeGenny Diaries happening. It's all happening on the Patreon, so sign up to that as well. Let's get on to this week's Ask Boyle. So this week's Ask Boyle was sent in all the way from the UK by James. And James has actually called it a hypothetical, but it's more an Ask Boyle. So here it is. If you were given the choice to totally ban alcohol, i.e. stop the production, make it illegal, would you? By the way, no one would ever know it was you that made the decision. Well, James, you have come to the right place. It's funny you ask that question because I just finished reading a book called John Barleycorn. It's basically the memoirs of an alcoholic. Jack London, the writer, it's his memoirs. And he basically says the only reason he was an alcoholic is because of the availability. He's like, if it wasn't available, I wouldn't have become an alcoholic. He even goes so far as to vote for women's suffrage. He was against it. He was against women getting the vote, but he voted for it because he knew that if the women got the vote, they would start fucking banning alcohol. And he thought that would be the best thing to do. That's in the book as well. That was like his... that was his conclusion. He was like, I voted for women's suffrage even though I was against it because I know the women will shut down the fucking saloons. And so I've been thinking about that the last couple of days. Is it the availability? Oh, I don't think it fucking helps. That's for sure. Like I've said before, I was always pro-drug. Just legalize all drugs and just fucking let it happen until I was in the UK last year and you could get cocaine delivered to your fucking door in 15 minutes around the clock. Cheap cocaine to your door delivered by some fucking Uber driver in a business suit, just fucking transactional friendly drug dealer dropping off some drugs in 15 minutes. So you can just be sitting there watching the football, just even slightly bored, just a tickle bored. And instead of having to jump through like 7 hoops like you have to do in fucking Australia to get the drugs, which prevents you from even thinking about it. So you're not sitting there on a Tuesday night watching fucking MasterChef thinking about whether you should get cocaine or not because it's just too much of a hassle. But in the UK, you can because it's so fucking easy. So if one of the ad breaks in MasterChef lasts a little bit too long, you're like, this is fucking boring. In 2.5 ad breaks time, I can have a fucking bag of coke here and just be railing lines. I wouldn't have made it through. I would be way more fucked up than I am now. So the availability is a problem. Would I ban it though? What a fucking hypocrite I would be to ban it. Yeah, cunts, the Boyle has had all his fun. Now it's time for everyone to shut up shop. The party's over, people. The Boyle has left the building. So what we're going to do, we're going to board up the pubs. We're going to turn them into green tea hubs. Decaffeinated green tea. That's what we're going to be getting high on now. Maybe you need to jump through a few more hoops to get your fucking bottle of vodka. I don't know. But prohibition didn't work in the US, did it? It doesn't even work in Muslim countries. Everyone still drinks there too. I think on the whole, if you did ban it, the world would be a better place, a much better place. But would I actually ban it? No. Or would I? Maybe I would, just to be a cunt. If I was still drinking, I would ban it. I'd be like, I gotta quit, cunts. So everyone's quitting. Everyone's out. Fuck you and your good times. I've had enough. Anyway, thanks for your question, James. That'll do for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, keep sharing it around with people, and I'll see ya the fuck later.